Hello fellow roamers, and for those of you just tuning in, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. If you're interested in travel tips or keeping up with my life in China starting this fall, here we go. So if you watched my previous video from last week, the top 5 tips for your TEFL interview, then you know what questions to be prepared for and also how to answer them accurately and in their entirety. However, there are some questions that you can never be prepared for. However, it's good to be aware of them. So from my personal experience, during my first interview in South Korea, I was given the standard questions as talked about in my previous video. However, as the interview was going forward, I started noticing that the questions were starting to become a lot more personal than I was used to during an interview, such as my husband's job, how he feels about traveling abroad, how much he's currently making, and even if we're planning to have children anytime soon. Now, in the States, these questions would be an HR nightmare, right? However, the more I started thinking about the questions and the purpose behind these questions, the more I started to really understand why they were asking them. You have to remember that they're already taking a big enough gamble as into providing you with accommodations and believing the fact that you are actually willing to live on the other side of the world, for a year or more, let alone that your partner, who's not even working for them, is willing to do the same, and also making sure that your partner is capable of doing the same, because being away from home for a year or more isn't a small task. So with that being said, I was able to excuse these rather intrusive questions, to put it lightly, fairly quickly. I was very understanding on why they were asking it. However, the next questions that were following it, admittedly, definitely took me some time to fully understand and also accept, if I'm being honest. So at the beginning of the story here, when you apply for a teaching job in Asia, you will have to provide a profile picture of yourself. Now, when I provided this picture, it was around the fall or winter time. My skin was a little lighter, and also my hair was straight. So fresh from the beach that day, I realized that my skin was tanner, my hair was curlier, and right when my interview was starting, my video interview, I can see complete confusion on my interviewers' faces. And as you can imagine, they language swapped, as I mentioned in my previous video. They looked at each other, they're talking to each other in their own language, and they started gesturing at their hair like this, and that's when it hit me like a ton of bricks. Oh my gosh, I look probably completely different to them anyways than in my actual picture that I sent to them. Now, as this interview went on, they started asking me questions that I've heard of other people experiencing before, and I thought that I was prepared to experience it myself, but I simply wasn't. They asked if I would mind, or if it was possible for me to straighten my hair while I was working with them, and if not, would I mind tying my hair up. Also, I was asked if I could, more or less, they didn't say so blatantly, but more or less I was asked if I can avoid getting darker during my time of employment with them. Now again, it was insane to me, because I've heard of this happening to people. You know, it's not like I went into this completely unaware. However, it is so different when it's actually facing you head on. Colorism is still a big factor in Asia. And though I'm not a darker individual, I'm still tan, I'm still Puerto Rican, and these reasons alone can make some of them nervous, and I'm here to break down the reasons why. So for many individuals, and you can see it in South Korea a lot for sure, is that the type of Americans that they're exposed to, or that they believe how Americans look, is very it's very limited, right? So think about just a white individual with blonde or brunette hair and blue eyes. Again, you can see it within culture, especially in South Korea. You can see it in their cosmetics, maybe hair dyes or makeup, or how they're wanting to look. This is the Western look as they perceive it. Now, unfortunately, as a being tan or a black individual, tan or black is still associated with labor workers. So if you are tan or you're black, you must work outside, meaning that you're a laborer and that you are uneducated, okay? And that just leaps into a whole ground of classism as well, which is it's an entire other video for a different time. So something to keep in mind, as hard as it was for me to accept, it is understandable in the sense that a lot of Asian countries like South Korea are very homogenous in culture, right? They don't have a lot of experience with people who look like me or people who are darker than me. So they don't see any wrong in asking these questions or for making these statements, because for them, I could be the first person with curly hair that they've ever seen in their life. So as a disclaimer, I'm not trying to generalize an entire culture and its people. My interviewers were also very sweet, they were kind, and they even offered me the job, right? I just didn't take it because I was offered a university position. Also keep in mind that the area in which I applied to originally was from a more rural area. All right, so if you're in a bigger city or more of a modernized city, you won't necessarily run into the same problems. Now, I'm not going to say that you won't run into it at all, but it shouldn't be as blatant or as common. Now, for my end note here, a typical question that I keep getting asked from people is, basically, why do you want to move to a region of the world where it's okay for people to think this of you or talk to you that way with relatively no consequence? And to that, I say, I know it won't be easy, and I know it's something that will definitely take getting used to day by day. However, if as an educator, I feel like because education is my passion, I can show it in different realms of my life. So maybe I can be the first one to show them that people who look like me or can be American or can be educated and well-spoken. And if that's my lesson to them, along with teaching them the English language, then I'm completely honored to do that. When I go to China with my beloved, I will go in with open arms and an open heart to accept all the beauty and the kindness that's there waiting for us as well, along with the amazing experiences. Because I am sure that there is a lot more good than there is bad. And just like anywhere else in the world, right, no place is perfect. And I'm willing to go into this venture with all the expectations in the world, but also with a realistic outlook as well, if that makes sense. So I'm looking forward to it. They're so very generous culture, a beautiful culture, a kind culture. And I'm looking forward, and I'm so excited to experience it. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in for my next video. I'm actually going to do a Q&A for you guys. Why China? So another question I keep getting asked is, why are you going to China? Well, if you want to know or you have any questions on why I'm going, we're going to do a Q&A. So either leave questions below in the comments or DM me on my Instagram page, The Roaming Roman. I'll put it down here somewhere so you can see it. But thank you so much for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.